Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the life you experience is not shaped by chance, but by the silent assumptions you carry and the consciousness you embody each day? The truths we often overlook are the very forces directing our identity, our fulfillment, and the future we are stepping into. Tonight, I want to take you deeper, beyond surface thought, beyond fleeting desire, into the inner laws that shape every outcome of your life. Assumptions shape identity. What you believe about yourself, whether consciously chosen or unconsciously inherited, becomes the very foundation of who you think you are. These assumptions are not idle thoughts drifting in the mind. They are structures that mold self-image, influence behavior, and determine how you show up in the world. Identity is not fixed at birth, nor is it merely the result of external labels. It is built from the repeated acceptance of inner assumptions, solidified over time until they feel like unshakable truth. A person who assumes they are inadequate carries that belief into every action. They may hesitate to speak, avoid risks, and interpret the reactions of others as confirmation of their own lack. Their identity begins to orbit around this single assumption: I am not enough. With each passing day, the belief is reinforced until it becomes indistinguishable from who they think they are. Contrast this with someone who assumes they are capable. That person will speak with more confidence, take bold steps, and interpret setbacks as temporary rather than final. Their identity grows from the assumption of competence, shaping them into an individual who not only acts differently, but sees themselves in an entirely new light. The assumptions we carry are rarely questioned. Many are absorbed in childhood, when words spoken by parents, teachers, or peers plant seeds in the mind. A child repeatedly told they are careless may assume that identity, replaying it into adulthood even when their actions prove otherwise. Another child praised for creativity may assume themselves to be imaginative, carrying that strength with them wherever they go. These early assumptions silently sculpt identity, often more powerfully than logical evidence. What is assumed becomes what is lived, and what is lived becomes what is believed to be the self. Yet identity is not a fixed statue carved once and for all. It is fluid, shaped and reshaped by the assumptions you continue to embody. Every time you tell yourself, I am this kind of person, you reinforce a pattern. Each repetition cements the identity further until it becomes your default way of being. Identity, then, is not who you are at the core, but who you have assumed yourself to be long enough to wear it as truth. To change identity is not to chase an external transformation, but to shift the assumptions that form its roots. Consider how assumptions guide behavior. A person who assumes they are resilient will endure hardship with strength, interpreting difficulty as a challenge to overcome. Their actions spring naturally from the identity of resilience. Meanwhile, someone who assumes fragility will shy away from obstacles, living out the identity of one who is easily broken. These two people may face identical circumstances, yet the outcomes differ profoundly, not because of fate or chance, but because of the assumption each holds about who they are. Assumptions do more than influence action. They shape perception itself. If you assume you are unworthy of love, every interaction will be filtered through that lens. A smile may be seen as pity, a compliment as insincerity, and silence as rejection. On the other hand, if you assume yourself to be worthy, the same smile becomes warmth, the compliment becomes encouragement, and the silence carries no threat. Identity forms around these interpretations, not around objective reality. It is not the event itself, but the assumption behind it that writes the story of who you are. The fascinating truth is that assumptions do not wait for proof. They create the conditions in which proof emerges. If you assume confidence, you begin to act with boldness, and soon others respond with trust and recognition, confirming the identity you carried from within. If you assume defeat, you shrink back, opportunities pass you by, and failure becomes the echo of the very assumption you started with. In this way, assumptions are self-fulfilling scripts, weaving identity into the fabric of lived reality. To become aware of this process is to recognize the immense power resting in what you choose to assume. Every assumption is a seed, and every seed grows into identity. The stories you repeat, the labels you accept, the inner dialogue you allow, all of these become the soil in which your sense of self takes root. To shift an assumption is to shift identity, and to shift identity is to transform the very path on which your life unfolds. Fulfillment requires embodiment. It is not enough to merely think about what you want, to dream endlessly about the future, or to speak of your desires as though they belong to some distant horizon. Fulfillment comes when you allow the vision to become part of your being, when you embody it so completely that your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in harmony with the life you seek. Without embodiment, desire remains abstract, hovering above reality like a shadow that never touches the ground. With embodiment, the desire takes form, animating your choices and shaping your path until it becomes your lived experience. To embody fulfillment is to step into the identity of the person who already lives it. It is to ask yourself, not, how do I get there, but, what does it feel like to already be there? And then to carry that feeling into the present moment. The mind responds to states, and when you embody the state of fulfillment, our consciousness begins to align your behavior, your decisions, and even your awareness of opportunity with that inner truth. You cease to be someone who is waiting and become someone who is living. The outer circumstances may not yet have caught up, but the inner world is already aligned with the outcome. This embodiment is not about pretending or forcing an illusion. Pretending creates tension because deep down you know it is not genuine. Embodiment, however, dissolves the gap between longing and living. It requires that you move as if the vision is already real, not in arrogance or fantasy, but in quiet certainty. A person who embodies confidence does not need to announce it. It is evident in their posture, in their voice, in their choices. In the same way, when you embody fulfillment, your presence carries the vibration of completion, and life reflects it back to you in subtle and undeniable ways. Consider how many remain trapped in the cycle of wishing. They speak of what they want, but continue to act as though it is unreachable. They imagine success but embody hesitation. They desire love but embody doubt. This disconnect keeps fulfillment at arm's length because the body, the mind, and the emotions are not aligned with the desired state. To break the cycle, the assumption must be lived. Fulfillment must be felt in advance, carried in the present, embodied as though it is inseparable from who you are. Embodiment transforms behavior without struggle. When you embody health, you naturally choose the foods, movements, and habits of a healthy person. When you embody abundance, you no longer cling to scarcity, but carry yourself with openness and generosity. When you embody purpose, procrastination fades because your actions are rooted in identity, not in effort. This is the silent power of embodiment. It removes resistance by replacing striving with being. You no longer chase the goal, you express it. Fulfillment requires embodiment because the outer world responds to inner alignment. Opportunities emerge for those who walk as if they belong in them. Connections form for those who carry the energy of readiness. The fulfillment you seek does not appear when you beg for it. It unfolds when you become the kind of person for whom that fulfillment is natural. Life is not withholding your desire. It is waiting for you to embody it so clearly that its reflection becomes inevitable. Embodiment is also a safeguard against doubt. When you live from the state of fulfillment, setbacks do not define you. They are seen as temporary ripples in the larger current of your being. A person who embodies fulfillment does not measure their progress by each passing obstacle. They remain grounded in the identity they have assumed, and because of that, they move through challenges without losing themselves. The fulfillment is already alive within them, and nothing outside can take it away. To embody fulfillment is to live in harmony with your highest vision, not as a distant hope, but as a present reality. It means carrying the posture, the voice, the decisions, and the feelings of one who is complete. The world, in turn, becomes a stage upon which this embodiment plays out, mirroring back the identity you have chosen to live. Fulfillment cannot be reached by standing apart from it. It becomes real only when you step into it, inhabit it, and allow it to breathe through every part of your existence. Consciousness directs outcomes. The quality of your awareness, the thoughts you nurture, and the inner state you repeatedly dwell in all act as the silent architects of your reality. What unfolds in your life is not random chance, but the natural extension of where your consciousness has been focused. Every decision, every interpretation, every reaction stems from the level of consciousness you bring to each moment. It is not the outer event that defines the direction of your life, but the inner state from which you meet it. When you hold a consciousness of fear, you make choices that shrink your world. You avoid risks, mistrust opportunities, and anticipate failure before you even begin. Life seems to confirm your fears, but in truth it is simply reflecting the outcomes that this fearful consciousness has directed you toward. By contrast, when you hold a consciousness of courage, you see possibilities where others see obstacles. You step forward even when uncertainty looms, and in doing so, you create outcomes that validate the very courage you embodied. Consciousness is not passive. It is the compass that quietly points you toward a future shaped in its image. The mind filters reality through the lens of consciousness. Two people can face the same event and live two entirely different experiences. One may see loss, the other an opportunity for renewal. One may see rejection, the other redirection. The external situation is identical, but the outcomes diverge because each person's consciousness interprets, chooses, and acts according to the state they inhabit. Consciousness determines not only how you see the world, but also how the world responds to you. This direction of outcomes can be subtle, operating beneath awareness. A person with a consciousness of lack might not notice the abundance surrounding them. They overlook opportunities, dismiss supportive connections, and sabotage their progress because their inner state is fixated on insufficiency. Meanwhile, a person with a consciousness of abundance is alert to resources, quick to recognize potential, and willing to act on chances that others ignore. Over time, their outcomes look like luck or fortune, but they are the natural fruits of the consciousness they have carried. The link between consciousness and outcomes becomes clearer when you observe how emotions guide decisions. Anger, resentment, or despair lead to choices that perpetuate cycles of conflict and stagnation. Gratitude, clarity, and determination lead to actions that build momentum and growth. The state of consciousness you embody sets the stage for your behavior, and your behavior writes the script of your outcomes. This is why transformation begins not with forcing external change, but with elevating the inner state from which you live. Consciousness also has a magnetic quality. People are drawn to you or repelled from you, depending on the energy you project. A consciousness of confidence attracts collaboration, recognition, and trust. A consciousness of doubt repels support, creating isolation and reinforcing the very uncertainty you feared. The outcomes you encounter are not separate from you. They are mirrors of the consciousness you bring into the world. Every room you walk into is subtly shaped by the energy you carry within. To recognize that consciousness directs outcomes is to realize that the future is not an accident waiting to happen, but a reflection of what you nurture inside. If you wish for different results, the shift must begin at the level of consciousness. You cannot live in the state of limitation and expect to produce expansive outcomes. You cannot embody despair and hope for joy to arrive. Outcomes bend to the quality of the consciousness behind them, because action, interpretation, and perception all flow from that source. The beauty of this truth is that consciousness is within your power to cultivate. You may not control every circumstance, but you can choose the state from which you meet them. By deliberately inhabiting a consciousness of resilience, abundance, or clarity, you direct outcomes that align with those states. The world begins to ease. The inner posture you have chosen, and over time, the path you walk looks less like chance and more like the inevitable unfolding of your consciousness made visible. The future is claimed now. Every vision you hold of tomorrow is shaped in the choices, assumptions, and states you embody in this present moment. The future does not exist as some distant event waiting to arrive on its own. It is being formed piece by piece in the consciousness you carry today. The way you think, the energy you project, the identity you assume, all of these are planting seeds that will grow into the experiences you call your future. To wait for proof before you claim it is to delay what could already be unfolding. To embody it now is to step into the creative force that brings it into being. When you think of the future as separate, you treat it as something beyond your reach, something controlled by chance or fate. This creates hesitation, passivity, and endless waiting. But when you understand that the future is an extension of the present, you recognize that every moment is an opportunity to bring the desired reality closer. The state you dwell in today shapes what doors open, what paths you notice, and what decisions you take. The future does not suddenly appear one day. It emerges from the stream of choices and consciousness flowing through this very moment. The power of claiming the future now lies in assumption and embodiment. If you assume that your desired reality is already real, you begin to carry yourself differently. You speak with more certainty, act with more direction, and project more clarity. These subtle shifts change how people respond to you, how opportunities reveal themselves, and how events unfold. A person who claims abundance now does not wait for wealth to confirm it. They already live in the posture of generosity, confidence, and readiness. A person who aims love now does not sit in despair waiting for someone to arrive. They embody worthiness, openness, and self-respect, drawing connections that mirror their inner state. Many live as though the present is only preparation and the future is the reward. They imagine happiness coming after success, peace coming after struggle, fulfillment coming after recognition. But this postpones the very state that would create the outcome. The one who claims peace now, even in the midst of chaos, begins to shape a future where peace is natural. The one who claims success now, even in the small actions of daily life, builds a trajectory where success becomes inevitable. The law is simple. You cannot delay the state and still expect the result. The state must come first, here, in the present moment. This truth is evident in the way small choices accumulate. The person who claims health now does not wait until they are perfectly fit to act like someone who values their body. They begin with the meal before them, the walk they choose to take, the rest they choose to allow. These present acts, born from a state of claimed health, carve the path to the future outcome. In the same way, one who claims confidence now does not wait until every fear has vanished. They step forward, speak, and act as though confidence belongs to them already. The future reflection of that confidence is simply the continuation of what was chosen today. The future is not created by chance. It is aligned by decision. Every later is built from a now. To say, "One day I will live differently," is to push the vision out of reach. But to say, "I live differently now," in thought, in feeling, in identity, is to draw the future into the present. This is not wishful thinking, but the recognition that outcomes follow states, and states can be chosen in this very moment. When you realize that the future is claimed now, urgency shifts into empowerment. No longer do you wait passively for change, you become the change in your way of being. Every moment becomes a chance to embody the realize. You desire to step into the identity of the fulfilled self and to let that identity shape your path. The future is not waiting for you, it is responding to the now you choose to live. The world you long for does not wait somewhere ahead of you. It is being created through the state you embody right now. Your assumptions, your identity, your consciousness, your ability to live fulfillment in advance. These are not theories. They are living truths that shape everything around you. Claim your future now. Embody it fully, and watch as life reflects back the reality you have dared to accept. The mirror will not lie.